from Nigerian Film Corporation. I called him, I said, but I'm not an insurance man. Why are you asking me to speak about insurance? They said, yes, but you have been disturbing everybody about the importance of insurance. So come and talk about it. And the point is that, you know, technology has a way of failing you. The point is that insurance itself is so interwoven in our lives. Let me find out. How many people here have any form of insurance? I must confess I don't have, except for my cars. So you're in safe territory. How many people here? Raise your hand if you have any form of insurance at all. No, apart from cars, everybody does that one now. Or your motorcycle or bicycle. How many? Nobody. Okay, one person. What did you insure, sir? Okay, health insurance. All right, that comes into play. Well, essentially, there's a very big link between insurance as it relates to the film industry, intellectual property, and the practice of filmmaking itself. I was part of the negotiations that led to the Beijing Treaty of 2013. That is the Treaty for the Protection of Audiovisual Performers. I was also involved in the discussions over the VIP Treaty. That is a treaty for the visually impaired. These are all WIPO treaties. WIPO is the World Intellectual Property Organization in Geneva. Like I mentioned earlier, when Nexim started giving out money to the film industry, I approached them and I said that, look, you can't be giving out money without any form of protection for this money. So that we should create a consortium of insurance companies that will provide coverage for this money. Well, it didn't work. And when BOI also started their Nolly funds, I also approached them. That one too didn't work. You know, at times people have a tendency to be uncomfortable with what they're not used to. Human beings and even animals tend to be creatures of habit. You know, once you're used to something, you keep doing it, even if it doesn't work at times. So within that context, I have tried because I'm very, very convinced that part of the missing link. You know, if you ask the average Nollywood filmmaker that what is your problem? What is your biggest challenge? What would the person say? Fund, Abby? But in my view, funding is not the problem. Do you know why? We've always had funding. I think in 1975 when, or thereabout us, yeah, 75, I think, yeah. When Ola Balogun made the Amadi on 35mm, it was funded by the Eastern Nigerian government, which is a form of grant. It was also funded by the African Continental Bank, which is a form of a loan. Because there are basically 4, 5, 6, 7 types. There are types of funding that are clear, starting with family and friends, you know, angel investors, grants, loans, and they begin to come to instruments that would give comfort to a financier. If you recall some of the interactions we had, I pointed out that in the course of my work with the financial sector, apart from being a filmmaker, I do some consulting. I discovered that, and I realized really that a bank technically doesn't really have money. You have kept your money with a bank, and you expect that when you go to collect your money will be there. Therefore, the bank has an obligation to ensure that your money is available as at when due. Yes, as at when needed. Thank you. All right. So, it's not the problem. The problem, for instance, when the CBN said they're giving us a creative industry financing initiative, how many people know about that? Who knows about it? You know now, Comrade Yeho. Okay, maybe I guess the veterans here know about it. It's a special from the CBN to stimulate, it covers the entire creative industry, from filmmaking to music to financing. You can just Google it. Like my friend, my colleague that was talking earlier, I didn't quite get his name. I'm even going to meet him for my own personal tutorial. So if you ask him, he will tell you how to find out about creative industry. Just Google. Google is my best friend. It's my cousin and my younger brother. Google. It's right inside your pocket. Just put Creative Industry Financing Initiative. Everything will come out. All right. So, what we found out, you said you're giving a fund to the film industry. But less than 1% of the pensioners can access this fund. Why? Because at the end of the day, they just simply took an existing product and tacked a name onto it without taking into consideration the peculiarities of the creative sector. All right? At some point, I can use bank and insurance interchangeably because they're all in the financial services sector, and it's all about comfort and management of risk. So, but there are certain three instruments that we could have used that could serve as collateral. Why would you say that you want to give film practitioners money, and then you still insist that they should bring collateral, when you know that they don't have collateral in the first instance? If they had collateral, they would not come to you now. And so what happens is that you have the same circle, the same people who have been accessing CIFI loan are the same people that will ordinarily get a loan, which is some kind of paradox. And so, but maybe you might ask yourself that, well, is Nollywood bankable? Is it insurable? What is the value of Nollywood? Nollywood is a brand. What is a brand? Why would you, somebody went to a fashion shop in Paris and touched a scarf by Hermes. They said it's $5,000. The person screamed, how can I pay $5,000 for a scarf? He said, no, you're not buying a scarf. You are associating with a brand. So why would a rich politician meet a Kannywood or Nollywood star and buy her a house of 200 million naira? Do you think she's the most beautiful woman? No. He's associating with a brand. People invite Nigerian stars, whether it's any wood you choose to belong to, whether it's Kani or Yeru or Nolly, and say, look, okay, we just want to see you in the UK, and buy a business class ticket, and give them heavy sums of money. Why? Because they are brands. Now, can you imagine? Because insurance has a very big problem in this country. There's a lot of distrust about insurance. But imagine where there's the appropriate synergy between these two sectors. For example, for those that were here during the NFC annual lecture, and I told them there's a fundamental problem with data. But what has happened is that over the years, we keep regurgitating data that is outdated, that is secondary. There are two types of data. You have primary data, you have secondary data. Secondary data is the one you get from a source, from a source, from a source. Primary data is the one you harvest yourself. So the most reliable data available right now in this sector is from the Cinema Exhibitors Association of Nigeria. And they said, and this is definite, it's incontrovertible, that in 2019 alone, the total box office value, the total value of Nigerian box office is 6.6 billion naira for 2019. And out of that figure, both state and federal governments took like 20% of it. That is just what? Box office. This figure does not include the salaries of employees that work in exhibition and distribution companies. It does not include the cost of advertising and marketing. It does not include the cost of the property, the real estate in which these cinemas are situated. Now, we have not talked about videogram, which includes VCD, DVD, and the value chain that is embedded in that distribution system. That is to say, even the wholesale markets in Kano, at Alaba, be a victim of what I'm accusing people. I don't want to extrapolate, but I want us to have an idea of the value. And I'm saying that starting with exhibition, box office, that cannot be challenged because it's digital. You know, when it's the box office all over the world is largely controlled by Hollywood. So when you buy a ticket, you registered in Los Angeles. So it's there. It is 6.6 billion. All right? So that when you go somewhere and they start talking about the value, you say, no, 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 this industry is worth a lot more than that. And I'm saying that figure does not include the employees that work in cinemas. It does not include the value of the property. It does not include the cost of marketing. Because in Nigeria right now, if you make a film with 50, 60 million, be sure that you need at least 10 million to promote it. And that is one system of, one revenue stream. Then you go to videogram. And we assume that at least, at the minimum, so that it can be accurate, 1,000 movies are made in a year, whether it's English or Yoruba or any language. Now imagine that the smallest number of crew you would have is, let's say, maybe 10. Even if we say 5, times 1,000 movies. Imagine what they are paid. Imagine the total budget. BOI has spent nothing less than 10 billion investment in the industry. Next thing, I'm trying to get us to have an idea. And if you look at Nigeria, you have nothing less than, AGN claims to have 100,000 members. Let's assume they're exaggerating. Even if it's 20,000, that is just AGN. What about Kannywood? What about the Yoruba film industry? Right? What about the producers, the directors? What about the cost of the equipment? So that was why I said that day that the value is simply staggering. So imagine where every aspect of this industry is insured. And every time people are telling us you want to solve the problem of unemployment, and they're staring you in the face, the way to solve the problem of unemployment. This is why this engagement, this forum by NSC is very, very important. You guys need to take it further from there, because this is the employment we're talking about. This is the wealth creation we're talking about. This is the solution to insecurity. So imagine where every single person in this value chain, from the film itself, which has various types of insurance that I will get to those that work in the sector, to those that are employed, you follow, because a normal human being in a proper environment, there are certain insurance you should have. If you go to developed countries, I'm sure you have relations there. Everybody has life insurance. Everybody has health insurance, correct? Everybody, though it might depend on the value. You insure your properties. You insure your, not just your vehicles. A friend of mine had his mobile phone stolen. The wife is an executive in an insurance company. I never used to believe him. 1 week later, the insurance company bought him 2 the same phones. They replaced it here in Nigeria. I'm not talking about Los Angeles or London. So I'm trying for us to have a mental picture of the size of what we're talking about, the possibilities and the potentials. And don't say you're still a student, you're still too young. In fact, you have an advantage. That means you can learn from our own mistakes. You know, it's like the story of the tortoise who wanted to send his children on a dangerous mission, and he called the eldest. He said, look, how many times will something happen to you for you to learn a lesson? That one said 7 times. He said, no, you're foolish, you're very foolish, go away. The next one said 6 times, until he called the last one that was just a toddler. That one just crawled and came. He said, Daddy, I won't wait for anything to happen to me. I'll learn from what happens to others. So being young is a big advantage. Some of us who started life very young, maybe we made some mistakes, and you now wish you can wind back the clock and correct those mistakes. So you don't need to wait. It is not good that I don't have this insurance I'm preaching about, because that is the truth. But you should begin to look at the possibilities. If you want to stage a production, begin to learn that, because that's the whole purpose of this kind of fora, right? And mind you, it is not every student or every young person that has the opportunity to come to Zuma. Someone who has a film school, well decided, otherwise you will pay very heavily for. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to get at. There is a very huge opportunity that the government and the people of Nigeria need to tap into and exploit to create employment, to solve problem of insecurity, to get people engaged. Not just you. We say we're claiming to be youths now, so don't think if we say it's only people that are under. In Nigeria, youth is even 80 years old. You know, you support the strong fertility. All right. So, but it's not that bad, because over the years, there has been a number of initiatives within the industry to solve this problem of insurance. At some point, I'm sure you all know Iroko TV. Hello? Yes, good. Now, Iroko TV has an ongoing scheme where they sponsor the health insurance package for members of the Association of Movie Producers. That is ongoing, but it's strictly for members of the Association of Movie Producers. The Actors Guild of Nigeria has their own ongoing health insurance package. I'm sure those that are AJ members here subscribe to that. It's part of their membership dues. And then, one of the 2 other guilds have, but the most important one, I think, that is ongoing now is the one between Conga. Conga is Congress of Nollywood Guilds and Associations. And they signed an agreement with Lagos State government for all the guilds, including Kannywood and everybody, to sign on to a new health insurance scheme. In fact, it has not even cascaded down to the members. It's still at the level of the executives. So there are insurance programs that are going on. But insurance is in various categories and various types. However, there has been an issue of, you know, like I said, distrust of insurance as a whole. Now, over the years, there has been efforts by Please don't mind me of my, what's it called? PowerPoint disappointed me, so I'm just trying to improvise. There are various insurance packages that we have received over the years. So what I have tried to do is to distill them. We've received from various insurance companies over the years. So I'm trying to look at insurance packages from the perspective of a filmmaker. I'm not an insurance person, and I'm not interested in being one. But for us that have been at the receiving end of this proposal, it's time we interrogate all of them properly with a view to finding out what is most suitable for the industry. Now, how many of us know Sam Loco, Efe? JT Tom West. Okay, you won't get this one. Leslie Yao. I told you won't get that one. Is what? You're very correct. Huh? Your NFC is trying. It's not a small thing. It's more than... sorry, they're all what? They don't pay me. Very good. Who knows about what happened on the set of Chikejiro's Full Moon in the early 2000s? Or was it late 90s? He was shooting in Abakaliki and something happened. Anybody that guesses will take the other part of my lunch. This is my lunch, eh? Who can guess? Guess what happened? Okay. On the set of Full Moon in Abakaliki, an artist, they were shooting in a river, or rather a stream. An artist went inside to swim, and he did what? He drowned. There was no life insurance, no accident insurance. It was reduced to Abeman and Ovex and no planner. In the case of JT Tom West, who can remember how he passed away? Nobody knows. Okay. Thank you very much. He was coming back from location at night, and he had what? He had a fatal accident. Once you use the word fatal, let's do small English. It means somebody died. So it's not when people have scratched your motor, you say, I had fatal accident. If there's fatal, it means somebody died. He had a fatal accident. He didn't have life insurance or accident insurance. I don't know if you get embarrassed like me. Each time you switch on your TV, what do you see? One famous actor. He's dying, let's contribute money for him. And you ask yourself, all the money he made, what did he do with it when the going was good? My friend here at Dokobo told me that our problem is that we always think the money will keep coming. Because the money can be so easy. Especially if you're a star. You go to location and just go and somebody will give you 1 million naira for 1 day's work. Fly you business class. Put you in an expensive hotel. And you just think that that is the way life is going to be. You forget that you get old. Even for the women. We forget that the kind of food we eat, we all get fat so easily. So those that started with curves, in the next 3-4 years, there's no curve again. Everything is like a tree trunk. So from playing the girl that everybody in the village wants to date, they say, my dad, make you play mama now. I know the point about Nigeria. We don't take criticism easily, so nobody will even be bold enough to tell you. It's only people like me, few of us that will say, this is the reason, go and lose weight. The average Nigerian will not say, it's okay. Don't worry, I will send you the script. The script will never come. So we forget. We will not always be like that. Right? At times, if I want to run, I'll just run out of breath. My wife will say, look, you think you're still 20 years old, is it? And it's interesting because when we started Nollywood, it was based on hardship. There was no money. Nobody had money. There was even no budget. When you hear zero budget, I experience is zero as in zero budget. You just want to shoot film. And you go and hoodwink someone and say, I just want to use your camera and record something that you carry it and run away and gather people at the back. Beg everybody. There's no welfare. You go to location, will become a nuisance. The owner of the house will give you his house. Every time when they're eating, we'll be looking at them. The man will realize we've not eaten. He will start feeding us. There were many productions that the artist ended up becoming executive producer. The artist will not say, especially those ones that have contacts or they're from wealthy homes. producer, what is the problem? Why are you not finishing this thing? I say, make I tell you, there's no more. It's okay. How much would this thing take to finish it? That's how this industry started. So when people keep talking, I find it funny. I say, okay, this was the product of struggle. When they say sorrow, tears, and blood, we saw the blood. Though. And the interesting thing, I was discussing with Alex and Steve the other day. A lot of those people did not even live to come and stand there and eat food of 7,000 naira or stay in hotels of 100,000. They didn't live to. So, on a much more serious note, I'm just trying to say it's very important to ensure your future, protect your future, right? And so there are basically just 3 types of packages they've presented to us over the years. They talk about risk protection for your properties. You know, that's why I have things like vehicle insurance, for your baggage of the artist, you know, physical things. Equipment. How did Leslie Yao, the cinematographer, die? Leslie was the cinematographer for Rattlesnake, Violated. I think virtually all of Amaki Gwe's early movies. Amaka herself is late. She too died of asthma, and I don't think she had life insurance. So people are just dropping down left, right, center. There's no life, no health insurance. They went to shoot, and the equipment got missing. It was stolen. The executive producer did not believe. He believed that Leslie must have sold the equipment, and they locked him up in a cell in Port Harcourt. In fact, today, I don't even know whether what I'm giving is an accurate account because nobody really knows. But the long and short is that, you know, like we say in Nollywood, whether it's Jonah that swallowed the fish or it's the fish that swallowed Jonah, we know that something was swallowed there. So all I know is there was equipment that was missing and he died. That is the important thing. Those facts cannot be controverted. So there is insurance to cover those kind of things. Then they have risk protection for your business. I'll treat that one last. Yeah. And then there's general liability. Now, if you talk about risk protection for your business, let me deal with that one now. For me, that is the most important. How many people here have heard of the movie Oloture? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but Oloture. Okay, what do you know about it, sir? Yeah? Brilliant. Yeah, but what is the relevance to our discussion today? All right. It is now the subject of litigation or pre-litigation. What happened? An investigative journalist went on the ground and investigated human trafficking and then published the story. When she published the story, a popular Nigerian production company that is also into distribution, at this point, let me not mention the name because I'm really not a party. I don't need to add myself to the case in court because they might say I'm biased. Took the story and made a film out of it. That is Oloture. Channel, there's some. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's what I wanted to establish. You know, you are an expert in that area. Now, even though this mistake was made inadvertently, there is still a penalty. Even in the case of Oloture that we're talking about. But in actual fact, there is an insurance instrument that protects you against this kind of situation. But mind you, it protects you to the extent that it's not deliberate, just like in a killing, when somebody dies. You know, you can either die through homicide, suicide, murder, or natural causes. But you see, somebody can die through manslaughter. In fact, the difference between manslaughter and murder is that manslaughter is not deliberate, say first degree, second degree, right? So, these two scenarios I'm telling you now is covered by this E&O insurance, errors and omissions, which most distribution companies, now even a lot of maybe like Africa Magic, because I confirmed this, they said yes, they insist on it. You must get that insurance. So that if somebody says, no, I didn't give you this right, even for music, which is the biggest problem, especially in YouTube and this thing. People take music. You don't know that music, even though they didn't give you right to use the music. So you can actually insure yourself against that kind of litigation. Am I making sense? Now, who knows about Okafor's law? Biomonopoly. You don't know? Okay, thank you, sir. You are aware of the legal tangle in Okafor's law. Again, in this instance, somebody was hired to write a script, and they invited him for dinner. We keep going back to food. After eating, they discussed the story. Eventually, he didn't get all his money. In fact, he's one of the biggest Nigerian writers, Judy Dada. And then, when he didn't get all his money, maybe he was feeling upset, he wasn't too happy, whatever. In any case, the script was now sold to another production company. All right? When the second people tried to go to this first company to produce, they said, no, we're not interested. They now made the film, that Okafor's law, based on the first thing that he wrote. And they said, no. You used our script, our screenplay, without acknowledgement and payment. But again, I'm saying that the errors and omissions insurance covers this kind of gaps. But unfortunately for us in Nigeria, when you meet insurance companies, because I've been dealing with a lot of them, they're always more interested in selling the easiest one to you, equipment insurance. I say, no, this is what one that will grow the industry. In fact, what I consider the singular most important instrument is what is called completion bond. A completion bond is a category of what they call performance bonds. It just simply means that I have undertaken to do this thing and finish it at XYZ time. What is the relevance? I can mention 2 films for you now, but I will not mention them. It's not fair to the producers. So it doesn't look as one is indicted. No, Nigerians don't like criticism. Maybe Alex will have the energy to mention it later. Maybe I won't mention it. Since how many years now? Maybe like 4 years. The films have not come out. And they use funds from Bank of Industry, Nolly funds. Every day you say you need to add this effect, you need to add that effect. And you ask yourself, if you are going to borrow this money from a commercial bank at commercial rates, will you be delaying since 4 years to release this film? Or is the person not conscious of the fact that if you have a pool of funds, the understanding and the expectation is that when you take money, you do what? You return it. So that what will happen? Hello? No, so that other people can also access the money. The fund is not designed for only you to eat. It has, thank you, Prof. It has to revolve. That is what we say revolving fund. When you go and take, you go and shoot, you put it back, another person will come and take. So we have, I'm just telling you two, there are many of them. You just collect the money. Because the biggest challenge to a movie production project is 2 things. 2 things. The first one is budget. Is it going to overrun? This was the case with Titanic. In fact, at a point, everybody thought the film was going to fail. It had gone 5, 6 times over budget. But James Cameron kept saying, I think James Cameron and Titanic, he said, don't worry. The studio was so afraid that the budget for marketing was very small. When they started showing the film in the cinemas, and young girls started crying, the studio started pumping money. There was a company, Goldcrest. It was ruined by Braveheart. Is it Braveheart? Yes. So in the film business, budget overrun is a very, very serious problem. The second is not even any other, 2 of them on the same level of importance, is completion. Will you ever finish this film? In my younger days, I've been a victim. You keep trying to perfect the thing. You know, budget overrun, there's a difference. It's not the same thing. Because you can shoot in 3 days and the budget will overrun. That is different from planning to shoot for 10 days and you shoot for 1 year. Right? will this film ever be completed? Because if you write a business plan for funding for your project, and you receive these funds, and you follow what you wrote in your plan, you know, they say when you reach for the heaven, even if you don't get it, you get some sky, right? If you finish the film on time, the way you planned, you know, things always look very nice on paper. Especially in Nigeria, where people have sweet mouth. Okay, if you just give me this 30 million, if you see this film, the whole of Nigeria will watch it. We'll show it in Sambisa and Damboro, all those people. Boko Haram will come and watch the film themselves. They then go protect the film. You know, the mouth will be very sweet. And they release the money. You will not see the person again. Which is common in our industry, I'm sorry to say, from Project Act. Jonathan government. So, how many people know about Project Act? I'm not talking about the veterans here. How many of you know about Project Act? The younger people here. Okay. In the dying days of President Jonathan's government, they created a fund for the industry, which is a grant. Now, let me explain the difference between a grant and a loan. Project Act Nollywood is a grant. Bank of Industry Nolly Fund is a loan. A grant, you do not have to pay back a grant. There is no interest rate. There's no interest. Are you listening to me? When fund is a grant, G-R-A-N-T, it does not have interest rate, and it is normally free. But a loan, even if it's 2%, has interest. The only thing is that it might have what we call, depending, if it's like a special intervention, like Nolly funds. What Bank of Industry gives the industry is it's called Nolly funds. That's the project name. Okay? It may have moratorium. Moratorium is the period of grace you have, because they know that if you're running a business or a project, you need time to begin to recoup the money. Okay? So that is the difference between a grant and a loan. Because people mix up the two. A grant is not a loan. And mind you, there's also the wrong perception that a grant can only be given by government. That is also not true. Grant can be individuals. If you can have, after all, Steve told us yesterday, Steve Gukas, that this other film, 93 Days, they got a grant from Dangote Foundation. They got from Ford Foundation. They got from Tony Lumelu Foundation. So grants are not restricted to government. Individuals can give grants. So we had this 3 billion naira fund. 700 million was for training. Sorry, 300 million was for training. Some people here benefited. I benefited. 700 million was for production, and 2 billion was for distribution. I can tell you that till today, there are a reasonable number of the grantees that have not shown what they did with the money. All right? So, back to the point of completion bond. So, in other sectors, maybe in construction and other sectors of the economy, they call it a performance bond. But in the film industry, it's priced to completion guarantee or completion bond. So it just simply means that this money you have received to make a film, you are going to complete that film as at the time, as at when due. And in the event that you're not able to deliver the final film, the insurance company, or because in developed countries, there are actually companies that specialize in that, will now have the right to take over the production. Because of this fact, the completion bond now becomes a sort of comfort to investors. But guess what? Why are they not chasing us with all these potentials in Nigeria with the completion bond? Because in Nigeria, for you to get a performance or completion bond, you have to provide what again? Collateral. So we have gone back to, in fact, it's like we were going to Jos. When we were closed, we now came back to Nyanya. But still, the industry is working very hard to remove some of these obstacles to the effective funding of the production. Now, okay. All right. Okay, so usually, you cannot just get maybe the E&O insurance. It's assumed you must take certain steps. You must get the right clearances. Like we're talking about chain of titles, for those who are listening, when we were talking the other day. That is to say, for every artist that appears, the person must sign and give you a clearance that, look, they are not laying any claims on the production, and that you have the right for all the music. Even when you have an original soundtrack, that is, you go to the studio and score the music. We have also now found out, like the instance we talked about in YouTube, that some of the music you think is free is actually not free. Or rather, it's copyrighted. Let me use that word. Okay, it may be free, but it's copyrighted. You need permission to use that music, because in copyright generally, that's why at the beginning I said there's a link between insurance and copyright and banking. Because in copyright generally, for instance now, I can use, there's what is called free and fair use. I can use the word because this is training. Okay? I can stay in my house and play the music for my guests. But I should not use that music for a commercial project or any form of public exhibition. So even when you commission an original music track, you still need to make sure, and that is to say that the composer needs to sign a form of, well, it's a form of indemnity, but it's called hold harmless, which is to say that he guarantees that this thing, there is no encumbrance on it. Okay? And that in the event there's a problem, he is liable. As opposed to indemnifying you and say that if there's anything arising, okay, from such a institution, they will take care of it. Now, why are we not, we've had challenges with insurance, like I said. And I think I gave you an example in trying to develop, customize this kind of packages for the Nigerian film industry. And you said to me that in insurance, you only pay that I should not be paid. It is when we sell insurance, you give me commission. But you have not developed the product. These products are not existing here. And virtually all the documents they've sent to us in the past, there is what is called deductible. That means that when they underwrite that insurance for, let's say, errors and omissions, they have to, the lawyer's fees, in the US they call it attorney. The costs that they pay are deductible. Some of the costs. But in developed countries, it's capped. Like in the US, it's $10,000. But in Nigeria, there's no cap. So you now ask yourself, are you really giving me protection? I don't know if I'm making sense. That is to say, I am buying insurance that says, in the event that I use Comrade Alex in my film, and he comes to sue me, that you, the insurance company to whom I'm paying premium, will cover my cost. Is that not what it's supposed to be? But you now have a small clause. That's why they take that insurance, always read the small print, that says that some of those costs, and even the lawyer's fees, will be deducted from that money you're supposed to pay. And in Nigeria, there is no ceiling. So which means if they're going to pay, let's say, 1 million naira, they can equally come and say, well, we use 980,000 naira. That is the cost. But in developed countries where these things work, there's a limit to what they can take from that, that fund. So at any point in time, good. Let's also consider the issue of, like, in negotiating these errors and omission of completion bonds, there's what they call derivative. For instance, now, yesterday we talked about, was it yesterday or yesterday? Living in Bondage 2. Now, that is what is called a remake. I'm sure all of us know remake from foreign films now. When you get an older film, you remake it. You must, of course, acquire the right, okay, from the producers of the film. Mind you that a film, a cinematographic work, has a lot of rights that are embedded in it. There are so many. It's not the purpose for me to come. There are so many that are embedded. So, I wish Steve was here, so I'll ask him, Steve Cookers. So when you acquire the right to remake the film, because these things are all based on court judgments, pronouncements that have been made by the court. What about the original script? All right? Because in the course of remaking the film, you are going to alter that original script. The remakes are not necessarily faithful to the original. And except for us to remind of the fact that if you acquire the right, then the author, that is the scriptwriter, needs to assign all the rights to you. Otherwise, if in future you want to remake that film, and you didn't get that express right, you don't have the right to transfer, because the right you have is over the whole film, not to alter the original script, except it is so agreed. Because the insurance company will not issue a bond or underwrite insurance if you don't, you must produce the evidence that you have the right, that, because there are 3 categories of works. Is it fictional or is it factual? Factual is like documentary, I'm sure all of us know that one. Fictional is supposed to be original. But we're saying that even in that original, is it copied from any other work in any form? Because at any point in time, that's why this discussion is all about insurance from the filmmaker's perspective, yes. So, if you say, no, this work is original, but there are some portions that you took, there is no folklore, Prof. It's only folklore and all that are covered, that are free, available for you to use. Did you copy anything from anywhere, even if the totality of the work is an original script? Did you copy anything? Because if you did, then you must show permission. You must show that the clearance that authorizes you to use that work. And as a producer, at a later date, if you don't have those things, you cannot get this form of protection that we're talking about. And mind you, even in things like dubbing, yes, various courts have ruled that, I'm sure we know what dubbing is. Please, who dubbing? When you dub a film into another language, like all these French languages, they will dub them into English for us to watch. But mind you that you read in some books, that is why theory is different from practical. In some books, they will tell you that, it's easier to, that it's better to subtitle. But I'm involved in distribution, and I can assure you that that is very incorrect. Why? Because for me, I am Igbo. I can't write Igbo. There are a lot of people who can learn every other language, but you can understand. So usually, it is easier to understand what is spoken than to read what is written. Are you getting the point? So even people who cannot write, even semi-illiterates, when you speak, they can understand. But when you write, they cannot understand. So in practical terms, it is actually better to dub. That's why the international standard is dubbing, not subtitling. And that is why, because we do a lot of it, so I do distribution. That is why the cost of dubbing, okay, if we want to dub Living in Bondage 2 into French, and the most acceptable French internationally is the one they speak in Cote d'Ivoire, is the equivalent of about 800,000 naira to dub the whole film. But if you want to subtitle, you can subtitle for 40,000 naira. Okay? Because it is easier to market. That is why all these, the women that are telenovelas, they dub. Even if it's very bad. Even some of these other films, they dub them into Yoruba, Chinese, they dub into Yoruba and Igbo and what have you, So, you need to be conscious of it. And then you might also want to know that, especially in French-speaking countries and many jurisdictions, the dubbed film is considered to be a new film. Are you understand what I'm saying? That if you own... Now, so if once it is dubbed into another language, it is another film. It has its own intellectual property rights that are embedded in it. So the long and short, in trying to conclude, insurance and the film industry if we want to get to the promised land, we have to develop a synergy. Because there are two elements to the most critical, based on practical and personal experience in helping people to raise funds. And so you need to be mindful that you need to, at any point in time, find out that virtually everything can be negotiated. And be mindful. I will share the electronic version, and then you can get it later from the NFC. Be mindful of where your rights begins and ends, and where another person's own begins. And be mindful of the fact that there is still no instrument that can give you total and complete protection. Because even as Africa Magic says, yes, before we buy a film, we must have errors and omissions in insurance. I know many cases that are in court. Because no matter how strong a law is, someone cannot always decide to test it in court. That is why you have judiciary, separate from the executive, separate from the legislature. The whole idea, even if this law is there, okay, no, we don't agree. You go to a higher court. And when you get to a Supreme Court and overturn it, it becomes a new law. It's what is called case law. They will build on it. So on that note, I thank you for listening to me. Mr. J.
We can do much better. Our panelists, I know some of them are here. Unfortunately, we had expected the representative of Nikon Insurance. We are yet to have them. And the representative of ICO Insurance. They too, they are yet to be here. But however, we have Mr. Alex, our German resource persons. They'll be waiting. They are already online, so we will quickly join them. So, sir, your reaction to the discussion on insurance packages for the film industry.
Thank you very much. Well, the lead speaker, Mr. Amadu Sishikwendu, I said it all, and it made the job of any panelist very, very easy. So we can only, interrogate by way of, giving our own perspective. Otherwise, his presentation is manifestly clear to the blind and resoundingly loud to the deaf. So I believe we all understood, his presentation. But having said that, for me, as a producer, as a filmmaker, who goes on location every now and then, who as an employer of labor employs everybody in the value chain, from the director to the smallest actor to the biggest crew to the smallest crew member. I've often wondered, and I look at Nollywood, who is our industry, it's our own climb. Insurance in itself, that's production insurance, it's a win-win situation for everybody. For the producer, and others, members of the cast and crew. It's a win-win situation. But the question then is, why do we run away from it? Why do the producers run away from it? Why don't they take advantage of this win-win, situation? And I think so many factors may be responsible, but I will just mention some of them. One, for me, if really we know and agree that it's a win-win situation, number one, I see it's that of ignorance. Ignorance, just sheer ignorance. People don't know You see, the most dangerous thing is when someone obviously does not know about something, but believes in his mind and thinks he knows. I mean, it's like Abiola used to say, the most difficult person to wake up from sleep is that man or woman pretending to be sleeping. You can never wake such person from sleep. But you easily wake someone who is genuinely asleep. Once you tap, he wakes. But if someone pretending that he's asleep, you can never wake him up. So, ignorance, and that ignorance cut across all the level, all the value chain in the film industry. And that's why they run away from insurance. Some people believe that, why am I that additional money? Whereas forgetting that what you pay is just a premium, annual premium. Insurance in film production, it's very, very important, and it has become, it's even more inevitable now. Looking at the times we are in, the various things that happen. Apart from the fact that each member of cast and crew should have their own personal insurance. But it behoves of the producer to insure the production. It's the responsibility of the producer to make sure that every aspect, the general insurance, equipment insurance, and all of that is the responsibility of the producer. And it does not cost an arm and leg to ensure your production. And like I said, it's a win-win situation for everybody. But ignorance is key. Another one is religion. Most people, once you talk about insurance, they say, no, God is my insurer. Why should I insure? If you talk to them about, look, you need a life assurance policy, they say, you want to kill me? No, God is there. God is the chief insurer. That's this faith, faithless faith, I call it. Yeah, faithless faith. Because when you get to heaven, you do what obtains in heaven, or hell, as the case may be. And when you are here on earth, you are in human skin. You have to do what is obtainable here. And insurance is one of the obtainables to make life easier for everybody. So faith is another factor. Another thing is being penny wise and pounds foolish, or naira wise and kobo foolish, or kobo wise and naira foolish. Because that premium you are going to pay for that particular production, like I said, it does not cost an arm and leg. But you only know the importance when something happens. That's when you will know the importance. Then you now start running from pillar to post. Then you will now bear all the cost. Because insuring the production for a certain amount, what it means is that you have already been indemnified. If anything happens, that's the headache of the insurance company. So being cover wise and naira foolish is another factor. For us as producers, and I'm saying this to the producers because it's the responsibility of the producer to make sure that the production, all aspects of the production, is insured, from the equipment, members of cast and crew, completion bond. Madu said everything. I don't need to go back to all. But it is the responsibility of the producer to make sure that the production is insured. So it's high time we as producers stopped running away from insuring our production. We should build it into our production plan. It must be built in. It's very important. We should stop running away from it, so that it will make life a whole lot easier for us. Because in any case, film is a global content, and insurance as an integral part of the production, film production, has become inevitable. It's a critical part of it, and it's a global best practice. Anyway, we have to key into this global best practice. Thank you for now. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Please, could we give another round of applause, please? That was very insightful. And one big round of applause for my uncle, Chief Madu. Okay, that was brilliant, brilliant. I will just build on a few points. Touching on what they both have said, I would like to emphasize on two major things. One being doing the right thing. A lot of these grants, a lot of these funds are available, but they require certain things. Some of us here, we're going to register production companies. I would encourage you to do the right thing. Pay tax. Do all the registrations required. Even if they don't require collateral for you to collect a grant, there's certain documentation that will be required, and it's best for you to be prepared. Secondly, I want to encourage you, especially the students, the young filmmakers, have faith. I'm not talking of the type of faith that doesn't allow people to do life insurance. I'm talking of the kind of faith that believes you can get it. I remember when the Project Act grant that Chief Madu mentioned earlier came out, I was telling all my friends, because I attended there was an initial meeting in which the government told us this is what they are doing. And most people I called either did not have the right documentation, or they said, they already know who they are giving. That's the attitude a lot of people have. There's a job interview, there's a grant, there's this opportunity, and they say, they have their people. It's not my type they are looking for. They have their candidates. Now who know who? Me, I no get leg. All sorts of statements. I encourage, it was like I applied. We got it. And then they started calling. I heard this thing is real low. Thank you, sir. Recently, the federal government brought another one after the lockdown. Apply. Yes. Yes. And there was one for schools. The same thing. Because we were shut down for 6 months. We applied. I encourage people. These federal governments, they don't chop the money. Nothing I did not hear. November, they paid the first batch. This last month. So I want to encourage you. Have faith. We did not press nothing. No pressing, just on the internet, but see documentation. Bring this, VAT, are you paying this tax? Are you doing this? We had to bring so many documents, BVN, this one, that one. But press enter at the end. At the end of the month, pim pim, alert. Try. See, the only way you will not enter a door is if you refuse to enter. Try and get a foot in. These things are out there. A lot of these funds have students' options. Project Act. Yes, they are primary, I'm serious. So many opportunities for you. But will you take it? Will you give yourself a chance? They say you can lead the horse to the stream, but you cannot force it to drink. So I would encourage, as part of the insurance thing, everything you know to do right, do. And when a door is open, walk through. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Please, I don't know whether there is anyone with a question. Just one question, quickly, so that we can go to the next session, please. Anybody with a question? Okay.
My name is Kogi Barak. My question is to Mr. Alex. You have encouraged this issue of insurance. I just want to ask, have you insured any of your films?
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, when I spoke straight to the producers, which I am one of them. To answer you straight, I have never insured any of my film. So I'm speaking to us, and that's why I say we must change the narrative. And there are various reasons. Not because, for me, for instance, Madu knows my wife is a veteran in the insurance company. She works with mutual benefits for over 15 years now. I have my own personal insurance, but that's personal. But we are talking of film production insurance, insuring the production. Not everybody, it's not yet a culture in Nollywood. It's not yet a culture for different reasons, some of which I mentioned. Some may say, look, why will I waste my money when I know that the insurance company will never pay at the end of the day? They will find one excuse or the other not to pay. Some people have that perception. It's a perception they live with. But I am saying, like I said, film is a global thing. And ensuring a production is a global best practice. And we cannot afford not to be part of that practice, except we are just doing our film and oscillating within Nigeria alone. You know, because if you never can tell, even if you want partnership, for instance, co-production and all of that, these are criteria, part of the criteria that, you know, you must live with. So I'm using this as a contact point to speak to us as filmmakers, as producers in Nigeria, that it's time we started key into this insurance thing. It's not a fluke. It's not a fluke, and we must begin to align with the global best practice. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know. I have access to the mic. Can I just make a contribution?
Yeah,
my name is
Albert.
Osezwa Stephen Imobiu. I think I want to look at this. Unfortunately, I was not here when Matt made his presentation. But then, talking about insurance, the first thing I would say, if you want to insure your production, get a broker. Get an insurance broker who understands all the nitty-gritties to help you cross your T's, and go through an insurance broker. Because I have my reason for saying that. In Nigeria, I don't know about other places. The insurance always, until something happens, then you need claims. That's when you know so many things that you're supposed to do that you did not do. They will point it out to you. But if you have a broker is more like a consultant in the insurance world. He can tell you, and he knows their language. So it's better to do that. Again, for this, I think we are just talking to ourselves, because I expect that on the panel, we should have at least one insurance person. Then again, the insurance on their own, since it's a business, it's not an NGO, they should make presentations to the industry so that we know what we can get, what we need to do. Because as a producer too, you have so many things you're working with. You are not supposed to add the insurance, full insurance knowledge. Yes, it's good to have a working knowledge. So let them make a presentation to our industry. You can do this. I know, for instance, for other industry, they have what they call workmen insurance. I don't know if it covers crew and cast. They have workmen insurance. Then again, for the production, of course, I know we can insure equipment. Then, does it cover business? That if I shoot a film, I go to borrow money and shoot a movie, and if the thing fails, box office-wise, will insurance also, just like some other business, help to take care of that? Unfortunately, I don't think any of us can really answer all this professionally, That's why I think there is need to an insurance person, a core professional in the insurance industry, to be with us in matters of this nature. Otherwise, we'll just be using our own knowledge, especially when we are not even professional in that regard. That's just what I have to say. Thank you.
On this note, we want to let you know that we actually extended invitation to Nikon Insurance and ICO Insurance, and even Suno Health Insurance. So it's not that we didn't invite them, we did. They said that they will be here, but unfortunately, we didn't see them. Please, on this note, I want to thank the keynote speaker, Mr.
Steve, it's good. You know, like you said, you were not sure when I was speaking. We covered all these areas, and I think that Zuma did very well in the design of the program, because it was quite balanced. And what we've been saying is that over the years, there's been a lot of interaction between the insurance companies and the sector. And some of us have been doing a lot of work with insurance companies. There is nobody that can insure a film against failure. It's not possible. Such an insurance does not exist. It's something I've been working on for many years. The highest level of insurance you can get is that completion bond, which basically says that there's comfort. This film will be completed at this time, finish, and you can use that instrument to go and borrow money. But the irony is that you cannot get it without collateral. So we're back to where we started. Just to touch on what Madam Biola said. As a matter of fact, I had wanted to redesign my paper completely because I felt the important thing to talk about was film financing, which is what you're talking about. I said, well, it's not fair to the organizers since they have something in mind. But if you notice, I also tried to bring in that element because corporatization is key, which is what we've been talking about here. That was why I thought, and I said, look, how many people have outlived how many people's businesses have outlived them in the entertainment industry? I don't know anyone. I'll be happy to hear from you because there's no corporatization. There's no proper board of directors. There's no proper accounting procedure. Yes, I'm here and I made my company existing inside this bag and inside your wallet. No, this is the truth of the matter. We need to move away from these structures. And again, in terms of what Comrade Alex responded to the gentleman, this is advice for all of us, including me. We have not gotten there yet. We are saying that film for 100 years, 250 million. And the film is so important that when they shifted the release, the third largest merchant in the world collapsed because they didn't see which film will attract people back into the theater. Which is why 2 days ago, when Warner Bros. Said all their films now, they're releasing them in theaters and online simultaneously, everybody started crying. So there's a way this business has been done successfully, which is what we're saying. Uncle Albert is here. We have a project. We're going to do all this because that is a major, major international project. So as we go along, nobody knows it all. If we know it all, we will not be in this condition. So as we go along, everybody's a learning curve. Even as you're talking, I say, Eli, I'm learning from you. So it's not that I'm sitting to talk that I'm Methuselah and the Wizard of Oz. No. It's just for us to expose global best practice so that he who has ears, let him hear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
On this note, please, I want to thank Mr. Madu Chikwendo, the keynote speaker, as well as Mr. Alex Eyongo and Biola Wole Adeonuga for their participation in this forum. Thank you, participants, for listening to us. The next session is our German partners. They are already online. We'll be linking up with them. I would like to call on Mr. Didi Chika, who is going to take us in the next session with our German partners. Please, Mr. Didi Chika.
I don't know why Madu Chikwendo did not go and work in academics so he can have time to be talking too much.
Take your seat, Didi. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we take this session very seriously because this is being anchored by our partners from Germany. And why I say so is are very critical to what we are doing at the National Film Institute. They've been instrumental to the master's degree program at the Institute in Film Culture and Archival Studies, which is also being run in partnership with the University of Jos. And it may interest you to know that the MD said something about that yesterday. At Zuma 2018, they were also a critical stakeholder in that Zuma Film Festival, so much that the theme of that festival was archiving for creativity. And out of that film festival is the national policy on archiving that the NFC is currently processing. So we see this part of the Film Festival 2020 as very critical to what the Film Corporation intends to achieve in the next couple of years. Didi, as we call him, is the MD CEO of Lagos Film Society, and he has been a link between us and the German partners. And Didi also is an alumni of the National Film Institute. Let's put our hands together for him. And he's been able to do that because he was at the National Film Institute and he saw the need to assist the institute move to the next level. We are hoping that people who go through the National Film Institute will emulate him and assist us with all the trappings of connectivity to take the institute to another level. He's been doing some spectacular work, and we appreciate him for that. So quickly, Didi, the structure, I guess, is he will speak briefly, and then we have, I think, two of our partners, Professor Vincent, and Stephanie. They'll be speaking to us from Germany straight away. So we'll listen to them back to back. And then after that, possibly we will now have questions. In between, he has a very short clip of films, I think 2 or so. Am I right? How many films? Didi, how many films? Okay, quite a number of films. If we can take them all within the space of time that we have, we will take them. But for now, I would like to introduce you to Didi Chika. He's a dual citizen. He's half Calabar, halfway again. It's you that know. So please, let's put our hands together for Didi Chika. Thank you.
Yeah, the other thing the NFC needs to do is, beyond praise, the other thing the NFC needs to do is to give me money. I don't want them to be talking about what Didi has been doing for them, what Didi has been doing for them. I also want the NFC to give me money so you can employ me as a consultant. So, and yeah, I'm going to try not to, I also have this fault like Madhu. I talk too much, but I'm going to try not to talk too much. There has been enough talk for us. We call it show business, so we are going to try to show things, not just talk. And how I got to this point was that some few years ago, I began researching Nigerian film history. And I know quite well that here, Nigerian film history did not begin with films. You couldn't get to see them. So we said, okay, look, we are going to open an art house cinema in Lagos, because like every film graduate, I have short films I couldn't sell because they say it's an art film, it's not commercial, so I couldn't take it to the cinema. So I said, okay, look, I'm going to open a cinema for filmmakers like me who don't make commercial movies, who make movies because it's his passion. You look for small money, you make movies, you look for small money for profit. You don't want to make billions. You are not looking for box office. You are a film graduate. It's dangerous for you to be looking for box office hits. So begin very little. Every filmmaker, every film graduate everywhere in the world begin with their school projects. I said, okay, look, since I couldn't sell my films, I only sell my films. I'm able to show my films only outside Nigeria. I have not shown my film in any cinema in Nigeria. They won't take it. But I have cinemas outside Nigeria who show my films because they call themselves art house cinemas. So I said, okay, I'm going to create an art house cinemas for filmmakers like me. Come out of film school who can make a film and look for specialized audience to sell these films to. By some stroke of fate, we find ourselves at the Nigerian Film Corporation office, which used to be the old film unit under colonial and post-colonial times. And we were in this place for 1 year, and then we said, what's in this building we have been occupying for over 1 year? At the abandoned rooms of this building, we stumbled upon cans and cans and cans of films made from 1950s, 1945, 1960s, 1970s, and it was like, oh, who let these films go bad like this? Why was proper care not taken about this film? And that was how we decided to create the first archival film festival. I mean, this is not properly titled. It's not an archival film training. I think it's necessary one time to have an archival training workshop with film students so you could see that what you can do with archival material. It's a strange festival because festivals talk about blockbusters and all film festivals, but what we do is we go back to bring films from the past. So we are not looking for blockbusters and all those people. This is not what we are looking for. And this was please, can you show me the still of the Cassia, the still picture you have of the first Berlin Lagos Film Festival? And when we started, we linked up with some German partners. So we hold this festival 1 year in Lagos, the other year in Berlin, the next year in Lagos, the next year in Berlin. And that was because we discovered the film from 1976 by the Nigerian director, Adamu Halilu, that was said to be lost. We saw a real damaged can print of the film at the Lagos office of the Nigerian Film Corporation. And after much back and forth with the German embassy and the German Foreign Ministry of Information, we got some money through the Berlinale also, and then we were able to digitize this film, and we presented this film. This was the first festival we had in Lagos last year. This still is from the film Shehu Umar by Adamu Halilu. So this was what began the film festival known as the Cassia. The Cassia is actually the name of an old film made by Bill Morrison, made totally from archival materials. The idea is to show you that film is not necessarily something you have to take your camera and actors and go on location. You can conveniently go into the archive of the Nigerian Film Corporation in Jos and get materials and use it to construct your own film without shooting once. All you not need to add is audio and the film becomes your own. So this was how we were on this project with our collaboration with the Nigerian Film Corporation and the Goethe University, Frankfurt, Arsenal Film Institute in Berlin, and the Deutsches Film Institute and Film Museum. And from that little start, we have got to the point in which, for the first time in Africa, there's a master's program on film culture and archiving that is being held. You have one, in Europe, you have maybe 4 or 5, not more than that. There's usually a specialized course, but out of the collaboration with the Nigerian Film Corporation and the German partners, you now have the possibility to study film culture and archiving in Nigeria. There is a scholarship for filmmakers also, film students who are not Nigerians, who are from outside Nigeria, who want to study film culture or who want to work with archival materials. So, and I think at some point we'll put our German partners online, and I'm going to show you what we have been doing, clips of film we digitized from the rediscovered Nigerian archive. But I think first of all, I have to honor the presence of the MD, CEO of the Nigerian Film Corporation, Dr. Chidia, who will make an introductory remarks, how we got to the point where we're here now. Dr. Chidia.
Thank you. Well, I just want to say welcome to everybody who is gathered here, and I wish to appreciate those who are participating with us virtually, particularly our German partners who are in Berlin and Frankfurt. I believe they are with us at this hour. Actually, this festival, this portion of the festival was supposed to hold in Berlin, since the first was held here in Lagos last year. The second part was supposed to be held in Berlin, but due to the pandemic, global pandemic of COVID-19, it wouldn't be possible to do that. So we decided to integrate it with the Zuma Film Festival as a component of it. We must say that through the effort of Didi and our partners in Germany, we've achieved so much traction in this particular aspect of audiovisuals, which has to do with archival history, our rich
troves in the archival footages and the archival materials, which graciously I must commend the interest of Goethe University to the Goethe Institute in Lagos that discovered what we had, probably what we had, but we didn't pay much attention to in Lagos. It was from that discovery that led to what Didi just explained to you, which today has culminated to us having the program in Master Degree in Archival Studies and Film Culture at NFI with University of Jos affiliation. I guess that's the first of its kind in Africa. Can we give a round of applause? If you don't know your history, you are certainly left with hysteria. Children who are born not knowing who their father is or who their father were tend to behave like people who don't have origin. And here we are, proudly stated as Africans, as Nigerians, proudly so. Our rich footage which defines who we are. If we do not recapture our past, we will fail to locate our future because we will be disorganized in understanding our presence. And that is why today the film archive located in Jos has received the ministerial directive to be the center whereby all other archival material should be deposited in Nigeria. So that shows that what we are gathered here to celebrate, or what we are gathered here to do in terms of the festival, is not something that could be considered useless. It is something that is very rewarding. It's something that is very deep. And it's something that is fundamentally very rich in terms of revenue accruals that can come from it. Those of you who watch CNN, you are aware that the owner of CNN bought up most of the classics and put up what is known as, is it the TCM, what is it again? Turner Classic Work. So it's there. And a lot of financial accruals are coming from there. We in NFI, we are working with the support of our German partners to digitize most of our past creative art so that we can put them on the digital format and people can go there and watch what it was like doing film in the past, and so that we can appreciate where we are presently and where we are going tomorrow. I want to ask you to find time to enjoy this particular moment and learn rich history that will be made possible from this gathering. Thank you for attendance.
Thank you, Dr. Chidia. So please, can we quickly put Vincent on? So we can just, they have been waiting since 1 o'clock, so maybe, so we can have his presentation and then we go to Stephanie. Vincent, you have the floor.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I would love to be there with you in person, and I really hope that we can make it back to Zuma in 2021. But it's good to be talking to you even through this remote format. I was very happy to see Dr. Chidia taking the podium, and I would like to send my greetings to all of my friends in Abuja, Didi Chico. We're trying to do in our cooperation between the NFC, UNIJOS, Arsenal, a professor of cinema studies. The basic idea is to build capacity to preserve and make available the audiovisual and the film heritage of Africa and of Nigeria in particular. And Dr. Chidi has just given you a sense of the importance of that particular project and of the importance of being able to have access to one's own history. I have a little anecdote. I've been working with my friend and colleague Anjulika Agina from Pan Atlantic University in Lagos on an article on Netflix and Nollywood. We were looking into the changes that Netflix entry into the Nollywood production system is bringing to Nigeria. And one of the people we interviewed was, of course, Kenneth Giong, the director of Oloture, one of the recent Netflix films that has created quite a splash around the world. A film through Netflix, which has also reached audiences in Europe to a much larger extent than previous Nigerian films ever could. Because, you know, access through Netflix, of course, is easy for audiences the world over. And so one of the questions that we asked of Kenneth Giong, who happens to be from Jos, by the way, for those who don't know, and who's a graduate of the National Film Institute, one of the questions we asked of Kenneth is, so do you think that, you know, the cooperation with Netflix will bring you to become more like Hollywood or to try to emulate Hollywood templates? And he quickly responded by saying, oh, no, certainly not. I see myself in the tradition of third cinema, and I see myself in the tradition of Nigerian filmmakers like Ola Balogun, Huberto Gunde. So he was referencing actually not just the last 30 years of Nigerian filmmaking in the in the video film industries, but he was referencing the earlier phases of Nigerian film history, the celluloid phase, the phase between 1960 and 1990. And what that made clear to me is how important it is, even for new young filmmakers whose films are now gathering an audience the world over, how important it is for these filmmakers to have access to their own film history and to be able to situate themselves in a tradition of filmmaking that they will consider their own. So this again convinced me how important it is for Nigeria to be able to preserve its own film history and to have access to it. And I'm really happy that in our own small way, we can contribute something to a situation in where that actually happens. Right now, I mean, our cooperation is basically one between two similar master's programs. We have a similar constellation in Frankfurt. We have a university. We have a very large film archive, a heritage institution. And we put these resources together in Frankfurt to create the master's program, Film Culture, which serves to train scientific personnel for film archives and film culture institutions like festivals and art house cinemas and museums. And when we first came to Jos at the invitation of the NFI and of Didi at the time in 2017, one thing that I quickly realized that Jos has the same constellation of resources. There's a university, there's the NFI, there's the National Archive of Film, Video and Sound, or the National Film, Video and Sound Archive. And so you could basically replicate the same program that we have in Frankfurt in Jos. And this is what has happened and what we have been able to contribute towards. Right now, as you will guess, nobody is traveling very much. Part of our cooperation is that we have exchanges of students and exchanges of teachers. So we have German professors traveling to Jos. We have Jos faculty traveling to Germany to teach and co-teach and develop their skills. And right now we had to move everything online. We're in the process of building an online infrastructure together with the NFI. There will be a set of laptop computers and high-speed internet access that will allow us to do remote teaching and remote teaching seminars. But in the long run, I think what we're going to do is we will blend virtual formats with classroom teaching. And what we hope to achieve is that we will actually create a platform in which the students from Frankfurt and the students from JOS can work together online and then, later on meet in person and pursue projects together. So while the current pandemic crisis is pretty much bad in every respect, there may be some positive aspects coming out of it. And I think that we've found a way of dealing with it that will allow us to go forward and actually strengthen both our collaboration and the two programs, both in Frankfurt and JOS. And I think with that, I will hand the podium over to, I think Stefanie will be next. Right?
Thank you, Vincent. And thank you, Didi, for the lovely introduction and for having me here. And hello to everybody at the Zuma Film Festival, my friends at the NFC, the NFI, in particular, Dr. Chidya Maduekwe. We haven't seen each other in such a long time. And I'm very happy and honored to be here today with you at the Zuma Film Festival. I am, however, also sad that I cannot be with you in person due to the pandemic and can only join the Zuma Film Festival via Zoom, which is a nice alliteration, at least. And I'm sitting here in my home office during the second lockdown and hoping that traveling will become possible again soon. And I have very strong and beautiful memories of the Zuma Film Festival 2018, when I had the honor, together with Vincent, to be awarded with this beautiful Queen Idia statue, which is here behind me. And you have been amazing host, and I will never forget the experience. Thanks again. And this year's theme of the Zuma Film Festival, content connectivity, another inspiring alliteration, by the way, reminds me of actually another one, Archival Assembly, which is will be the name of our upcoming Archive Film Festival in June. And it was actually supposed to take place in last September, but due to COVID-19, we had to postpone. So it's going to happen next June, and hopefully cinemas will be open again by then. The Arsenal Institute for Film and Video Art has a film archive as well, with more than 10,000 international films. And many of them only survived in our archive and do not exist any longer in the countries where they had been produced. Film, and this even more so in digital times, can be reproduced, can be digitized, and there are multiple copies. There's not just one original, and that gives us the possibility to return films after digitization to their country of origin, and at the same time to keep a copy in our own archives. So sharing is the keyword for us when it comes to our archival practice. And film has the potential to connect countries through co-productions or international distribution. But when we dive into archives, we often find new connections. Discovering or rediscovering archives gives us a chance to rewrite not only film history, but history as such, as the MD so beautifully said earlier: without history, we are left to hysteria. So this is, I keep in mind. And as Didi mentioned, we restored the film Sheu Uma by Adamu Halilu, and doing that in collaboration with the Nigerian Film Corporation, the National Film, Video and Sound Archive in Jos, and the Lagos Film Society, was not only such a wonderful experience because of the end result, but also because of the process of the restoration itself, which brought us, all of us, closer together. Of course, that includes also the Goethe University. And this is something film can do. And for that reason, the Festival Archival Assembly will present transnational restorations and archive projects. The films will be introduced and discussed from today's perspective. One of the main aspects will be the question how archives and archive practices can be decolonized. Too many films from places all over the world are lying in Western archives and people have no access to them. At the same time, there are many films in non-Western countries that are not yet part of the written film history and have the potential to rewrite it. Another focus of the festival will be the need of international networks between those who work with archives. Some of them have an institutional context or framework like the NFC, but others don't have that and need professional support and advice. But not everybody has access to the technology that is needed to digitize a film. The NFC has a film. The third focus will be partnership in the Nigerian Film Corporation and the National Film Video and Sound Archive, or like the one between the Goethe Institute and us that includes, for example, also internships. Theory and practice go hand in hand, and research and education can build the basis for the future. And last but not least, we would like to show that archive work does not only go in a backwards direction, what people often believe. On the contrary, and I think Didi mentioned that, archives are the source of production, whether it's knowledge production or even art and film production. And exhibition that brings together archive history and contemporary art. And we hope that by June, the COVID-19 situation will allow us to have international guests. In any case, we are very happy that the Berlin-Lagos Archival Film Festival, which is taking place in Lagos, as Didi mentioned earlier, every 2 years, alternating with the Archival Assembly Festival in Berlin, makes sure that we can continue together even without traveling. But let's hope that this will change, and I can't wait to be back with you in Jos and in Lagos, and hopefully next year for the Zuma Film Festival. Thank you.
Thank you, Vincent. Thank you, Stephanie. I think around 2 o'clock, there is the lady who owns the film Things Fall Apart, the right to Things Fall Apart. I don't mean Things Fall Apart that was produced by NTA as a drama series. I mean the film Things Fall Apart that was produced as a film. When I began this project, this was the bag we printed originally for the film What Has Happened to Nigeria's Post-War Cinema. And then this question took me by accident to the archive in Berlin, the Kinemathek, the German Kinemathek. And this lady said to me that there's this Nigerian film I have the right to, and it's called Things Fall Apart. I mean, it got the strange name before, Bullfrog in the Sun, which has got nothing to do with the novel. It was originally adapted from 2 novels by Chinua Achebe, Things Fall Apart and No Longer at Ease. We were supposed to screen it in Lagos, and then the NSAS protest broke out. We couldn't screen it. And she wanted to share with us the process of the film, the document, the pictures, everything that went into producing that film. So until 2 o'clock, then the idea of this workshop actually also is to trace the history of Nigerian cinema, to see exactly where it's coming from, not just as an academic exercise, but I think also even as an academic exercise, it's not wrong. There is the driving of our film festival, the driving impulse of working with the Nigerian Film Archive. Whenever you mention archive, people think it is something old and dusty in the cupboard that, and I don't know if anybody knows or remembers that one of the missing episodes of Doctor Who, I think it was it's from the series, was it the 7th or the 10th? So it was not found anywhere in the world. It was found in the Nigerian archive. How it left Nigeria, I don't know. If anybody was paid money for it, or they just came in and took the materials and left. But in London, we did a presentation, and this old guy walks up to me and said, I was the one who discovered Doctor Who in your archive in Nigeria. I said, wow. I didn't ask him who gave him. He didn't tell me who gave him. He said he saw it in one cupboard, an abandoned cupboard in an archive somewhere. So I don't know what he was doing in the cupboard. But then you see that we have got this material that could generate money. My clearest example of working with archive is simple, and it's a word from Ghana. It's called Sankofa. It is usually depicted by a bird flying forward with its head turned backward, trying to collect an egg from its back. The interpretation is simple. It says that it is not taboo to return to the past to collect what you left behind. The interpretation I prefer is, in order to go into the future, you need to go to the past. Achebe has got a way of framing it. He says, if you don't know where the rain started beating you, you won't know where the rain stopped beating you. So it has been an uphill task trying to get people in Nigeria, trying to excite them with the idea of working with old materials you didn't produce, you didn't show them. What do I have to do with those stuff that was produced in some time gone past? I remember when we first digitized Shehu Umar, a key player of the Nigerian movie industry who is late now, last year or was it this year, he said, why did the NFC go and bring an old film that was made when cinema was still analog and take it to the Berlinale? Now I must tell you this, that in Berlinale 2019, the German newspaper TAS voted, it was not given a prize, but the German newspaper voted Shehu Umar as the best film that was screened at the Berlinale in the 2019. So that, for me, justifies the fact why I went to exhume an old film from when cinema was still analog. I tell you this because I'm posing it provocatively that if you, anybody sitting here, you don't like that we are showing these films from when cinema was still analog, I'm happy to tell you that we are going to keep on digitizing and showing these films until you learn to like them. And I'm going to show some of these films. I did say that it's called show business and it's called a film festival. And I think that I want to show more and not talk too much. So I want to begin by tracing a cinematic history of Nigeria by showing a film from the colonial era. It's just 5 minutes. Can you hold in trust? So it's not the best quality stuff, but I want to show you what the Nigerian Film Archive is already doing with this scanner, which they already have. Can we see held in trust, please? While we are waiting for held in trust, so should I continue? I'll wait for you, guys. I mean, of course, as I was saying, we are going to show, I'm going to show also, okay, let's go on first of all with held in trust. Let's see. This was really a very bad print, but we wanted to digitize it and show it the way it was, because the difference with working as an archivist and working as in archiving, we like to show every little scar that the film is wearing, so we don't like to sometimes prettify them. But if you are maybe constructing a history or a film on the forgotten history of Nigerian cinema, then maybe we would like to go extra miles to clean up these films. But as it is like this was one of the very first thing. I think this was the first thing we digitized from the Nigerian Film Archive, and it goes back to the 50s when Northern Nigeria was administrating when the regions were doing their different cultural stuff from the film unit separately. So this was filmed in northern Nigeria and exhibited with mobile cinema. So, but if you are having problem with this, we could just leave this and go straight to Lion of Judah. I should leave it? Okay, leave it. Before it became the federal film unit. So, and yeah, let's continue with the film first. But for some strange reason, the sound did not come out, even though the sound is not very good, but there should be sound in the movie. It comes with its own narration, but no problem. Now I think that also with some little bit resources more, this clip could be cleaned up quite properly more. So, but we just went into the archive with representative of the Arsenal in Jos. We just took one film and we took different prints to see some in good, relatively good condition, some in bad condition. But we said, okay, let's digitize these different films, and so we can get the different feelings of what they look like. I mean, you have to consider that this film goes back to the 50s, that this was not a 60s, 70s film. Now we showed this film in Lisbon, and the representative of the British Film Institute, and he said, but how come we don't have it at the British Film, at the BFI? I said, the thing with the Nigerian Film Archive is that quite a number of material you find in this archive are not in any other archive anywhere in the world. And if it gets lost, if the archive gets lost, you don't hardly find these films anywhere. So this is really why the archive is very important. I had to make a transcript of the film for them in Lisbon BFI so they could hear exactly what the narrator was saying in the film. So I don't know, I think somebody's supposed to join us. The lady who owns the right for Things Fall Apart, is she online with Zoom to show us, to share some stuff with us? If not, I can go on. Is there? Maraike? Yeah. Oh, yes, okay. So maybe she can come on now. So no audio? We can't hear.
Okay. So hello everybody. Perhaps first I would like to introduce my partner, Britta Braun. She is the daughter of the filmmaker Jason Poland, who directed Things Fall Apart, and the daughter of Christa Poland, who edits the film Things Fall Apart. And yes, just to say hello.
Hello. I'm very happy to take place here for this moment. It's very spontaneous for me, just cooking before. And today is the birthday of my father's also. He would be 86, no, 68, excuse me, and 86. And I'm very happy that it goes further and further, slowly, but I think really. And I'm very happy about this. Thank you.
Yeah. I think it was, I think it was 2 years. I think it was 2.5 years ago when we found in the archive, yes, while I was looking for something else, we found a fact sheet from Things Fall Apart or Bullfrog in the Sun, or there have been several titles of the film. And for me, I was quite interesting to see the cast and the crew and who had been part of this production. And we start to make a research, because I didn't know nothing about Orlando Martins, and I didn't know nothing about Elizabeth of Toro. And so we start to make a research and to get in contact with Nigerian historians like Didi to speak about this production. Because I think it's a very interesting, it was a very interesting context in which this production has been taking place. The producer in Nigeria was Francis Oladele, and he was the first private filmmaker who founded his company called Penny at the end, or in the middle of the 60s, end of the 60s. I have one picture here from him. I don't know if you see this. Here you see him, Francis Oladele, with Jason Poland and the producer Wolf Schmidt. And Francis Oladele, he tried to create the Nigerian film industry, because in this time there was no film industry in Nigeria. So he started to make contacts with with people from North America and with some international, because in this crew there have been some very interesting international crew partners. For example, there have been like Dave Aradeon, the Nigerian architect still living in Lagos. The sound engineer was Ivan Sharrock, who awarded twice an Oscar, who was the sound engineer, for example, for the production of Shining of Kubrick. So very interesting people. Or like, for example, Orlando Martins, who was the first international film actor from Nigeria. And Things Fall Apart was his last production. And it was, the second film with Francis Oladile he was working with. And for him, very important, because he said it was the first time that he really acted in a typically African character, and not like before the imagine of white Hollywood, where he was playing in the 40s in production like Tarzan or something like this. So it was quite different in this time. And on this fact sheet, for example, there was written, "Times are changing. John Secker and Elizabeth of Togo are the first purely African lovers who are well on their way to conquer the audience of the world." So this is what I think that they really thought to do, to make a movie for an international audience. And yes, then we start to research, and we found in Berlin a lot of things. We found more than 2,000 unpublished photos. And these photographs, the still photographer was Stephen Goldblatt. In this time, a young guy, a British guy born in South Africa, who was a student in that time in London on the Film Academy. And later he became a very well-known director of photography, and he shoots film like Batman and Robin and this kind of, action movies. But in this photograph, in the still photographs we found, you see him as a young guy in Lagos and Ibadan, where the film was shooted. And as I said, this photos has been more than 50 years stored in Berlin. And yet it's almost exactly 50 years ago. The first day of shooting of Things Fall Apart was on 27 of October, 1970, on the airport in Lagos. This was the first day of shooting. So the last 2 years, then we make a huge research, and we start to restore things like the photos, the papers, the people. We get in contact to for example, to the producer in Hollywood, and we visit him and make an interview with him. And we spoke to, for example, Iyabo Abuaba, who was playing a little role, Busy, in the film. And Iyabo Abuaba, she's very well known for the creative people in Lagos, because she's one of the co-founders of Freedom Park. And she was the secretary of Francis Oladile for 4 years. And it was quite interesting when we spoke with her together with Didi Chika, because she spoke about the beginning of the film industry and the situation and the difficulties to get distribution in Nigeria, because the cinemas in that time has been owned by business people from Lebanon, and they've been more interesting. This is what they said, to screen Hollywood movies. than this kind of art house films. So yes, this material, a lot of material, found a lot of material. And with this material, we created an exhibition which was curated by Akimbode Akinbiyi, also from a very old Lagos family, photographer and a brilliant artist and wonderful person, together with Gisela Kaiser from Berlin. And yes, we hope that in the beginning of the next years, we will come back to Lagos to present the exhibition. We printed more than 74 huge pictures, 2 meters by 2 meters, to make an open air exhibition. And we, yes, and Didi created a wonderful program for Archive Film Festival in Lagos. And I hope that we will come back soon to Lagos to present all this material.
I think that as good as it is that, yes, somebody has got the right, somebody has got Achebe's fall apart. Of course, I found it a little bit controversial that Achebe, who talked about the lion telling his own story, managed to allow a German director and outsider to direct his film. So, but that is for another day. Achebe is not here for me to ask him that question. So, but why are these films not in Nigeria? What has happened to Olabalogun's films, to Ogunde's films? How does a researcher go to look for this stuff? Some of the films are not here in Nigeria. Some are here in Nigeria, and we are going to just see a little bit, a taste of the things that are in Nigeria, perhaps to also push the NFCs to show these clips. I mean, I always like posing the question provocatively, and it is good that the director of the NFC is here. So the thing is to show these clips so we can push the NFC to say, look, why are these films not in Nigeria? What is the NFC doing? How are we going to get these films and bring them back here? Not just so that they could be used for research, but so also they could generate income. Imagine when B. Bandele wanted to shoot Half of a Yellow Sun, to use some 30-minute clip of the war, he had to go to the BFI, and the BFI said, we have to give us so money. Imagine if you have that at the Nigerian Film Archive, the income comes to you. So because people who want to use them, they come to you, and that's the beginning. So I think we should show another film, so showing and talking, and not just talk. Maybe we can show Lion of Judah, or maybe as an idea, I think you can show the film Memory Also Die. Show Memory Also Die first, a short film, which was screened at the Berlinale, just so you have an idea of what a filmmaker can do if he has got access to these films. So let's roll.
The venue was the Durbar village, specially created in the outskirts of Kaduna. An encampment designed to accommodate hundreds of thousands of musicians, traditional bands, minstrels, performers, and entertainers of all classes, carefully selected from every nook and cranny of the 6 northern states of Nigeria. The purpose? To prepare for a memorable state visit to Kaduna of the Lion of Judah, the King of Kings, His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I of Ethiopia, the founding father of the Organization of African Unity. Such expensive preparation had to be thorough and detailed. It was to be at Durbar, a class all its own, the 4th in the history of Nigeria. The first was mounted in Kano in 1925 to receive the then Prince of Wales. That of 1956 was to welcome Queen Elizabeth II of Great Britain to Kaduna. The third, held on 15th March 1959 at Kaduna, was to mark the attainment of self-government by the former northern region of Nigeria. The people, the military and traditional rulers of the northern states were all out to show their appreciation for the support and sympathy His Imperial Majesty gave to this country during the dark hours of her civil war. From Kwara to Bonu, from Sokoto to Otukpo came thousands of dancers, acrobats and musicians, all jubilating and anxious to portray the glamour of their cultural and traditional heritage. For this great Durbar, over 3,000 horses were assembled. 3,000 well-fed thoroughbreds, all in readiness for the racecourse Durbar in honor of the visiting monarch. The Durbar village was provided with all amenities. Hundreds of women were engaged to do the cooking, and what a job it was catering for those thousands. Life was somewhat total at the encampment. There was a firefighting unit, a police post, and pipe-borne water. Medical care came in the form of mobile clinics to supplement the dispensaries. Inoculations against cholera were given free of charge. It was a bright sunny morning that cheered in the Lion of Judah at the airport. Eminent personalities including military governors, traditional rulers, top civil servants, and members of the diplomatic corps were all there to welcome the emperor and his principal host, the head of state, General Gowan. Hundreds of important personalities who had to travel hundreds of miles were also at the airport to greet the emperor and show their gratitude and appreciation for his role in Africa's struggle for peace and unity. The emperor and the head of state were received by the North Central State Military Governor, Colonel Bakari, who in turn introduced his counterparts. The Ethiopian national anthem was played by the Nigeria Police Band. His Imperial Majesty inspected a guard of honor mounted by the Nigerian Army and the Air Force. Nigeria lives to remember the role the Emperor played during our dark hours, his constant support for Nigeria's unity while others remained fence-sitters or open enemies. Before leaving the airport, the Emperor was introduced to and warmly received by all the VIPs. It was a 5-mile drive through multitudes of colorful crowds lining both sides of the route, uproarious and jubilant at the sight of Haile Selassie. All the way through, it was shouts of King of Kings, direct descendant of King Solomon and Queen of Sheba, the gentleman and pride of Africa, that rent the air. The Ethiopian national anthem was later played on the arrival of the emperor to the race course. Despite his advanced age of 80, he was smart and erect as he saluted. The Grand Marathon Durbar began with a contingent from the Benue Plateau State. This is Nigeria, the pride of Africa, the country at its best, entertaining His Imperial Majesty, the Lion of Judah.
Now, because next year also we are lining up workshop with film students and just working specifically with archival material. So preparatory also to this, I want to show a small film of what you can do maybe with archive images. I'm not saying that it is what you can do like other people, it's just why these images, how important they are. So they look maybe a little bit, forgotten images, but as new filmmakers, what can you do with these images? I saw these images when we were working with the archive in Jos. Now I took these images from our work with the Arsenal and Goethe University Frankfurt. I took these images and constructed a small narrative from it, and it was selected last year for the Berliner, was it last year or this year, February? I think it was this year we were Berlin. Yeah, it was this year it was created at the Berlin. So I can show memory also that as an idea of what also could be done with this archive, with these images from the archive as filmmakers from the film school. What you can also, while you are busy looking for money to shoot that blockbuster you want to take to the Oscars or the box office cinema, you could also, what is within your reach, courtesy of the Nigerian Film Corporation and National Film Institute, you could also see how you could make films without paying actors, without just paying studio money and all those little stuff. Can I show briefly that memory also that then we can have some conversation, maybe questions before we proceed? Don't worry, there is no sound, just play it.
Na, wie so ein Trailer, wie wir das mit.
So maybe we talk a little. Questions or observation, contributions from the floor before we move. Because, yes.
Yes, I want to really thank you for this particular show you are doing. Yeah. You see, she was talking about Carpenny company. They did Oleshenka, what do you call the Kongi service by Oleshenka. But you see, even though Oleshenka acted in the film, I watched the film when I was a student at University of Ibadan. Even though Oleshenka acted in that film, Oleshenka dissociated himself from that film. He said it's not the original idea that he had of that particular film, that Kongi service. For some time, I've been trying to I watched Ogunde's Aye when I was a student at the University of Ibadan. That was around 1981. I watched it, and I wrote an assignment on that film. But it was just a straightforward writing. But for now, I've been trying to get hold of the film. I couldn't get it. Somebody gave me the name of Laja Ogunde. Who is it? I think it's a son of the late Ogunde. I've been trying to reach him to see if I can have a look at it, because I was trying to do if I can do a semiotic analysis of that film. That is breaking the film down and really go into the various segments of that particular film. I don't know if you'll be able to assist me to get hold of that film. There are other films too that, those are films that were shot in celluloid. Although they are now analog, but I don't know the difference between a celluloid film and a digital film. I want to see how we can marry them together. Thank you.
Okay, I come to him first. I respond to him first. Okay, this is actually what this archival project with the Nigerian Film Corporation is about. So, I think that now the Nigerian Film Corporation has got the go-ahead to be the repository of every film that has made. The irony actually is that while we are trying to recover these lost celluloid films, films from the digital era when Nollywood began are also missing. Because you have to understand that, was it this morning or was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday also they talked about the business of cinema, whether cinema is art or business. You have to understand that for too many people who came into Nollywood initially, the idea was to treat movie as business. And you know, the mentality of a trading person is, I'm an Igbo person too, so I know that when you go to the market, when you buy something, you want to sell it. And your market is complete, is successful when you succeed in selling off everything. So people sold off things and sold off their master copies. So we are trying to sell celluloid, but the digital people are losing their, oh, you're not waiting to know where you will get the film from. I will tell you that also that I asked, Olabalogun does not have the film. It was Olabalogun who directed it. It was Ogunde's film who produced. Ogunde's children don't have the film. Just as Francis Oladele's child has got Things Fall Apart because of the lady who spoke now about Things Fall Apart. So Lanre Oladele is going to get a copy of Things Fall Apart now. And I think it is not so necessary for a copy of that film to be at the Nigerian Film Corporation, even if it was not directed by a Nigerian, but it was also co-produced by a Nigerian. Now, most of those films you are talking about, strangely, are in the Cinémathèque Française, not even in the UK. We did not really have any colonial relationship with France, but France has got, Olabalogun's wife was French, so she was a French woman. She's not was because she's still alive, I think. So these films are the Cinémathèque Française. So last year, I wrote to the Cinémathèque Française that I want to research this Nigerian film. They asked me one long process, and finally they told me no. So then, but there's internationally now, there is every colonial country, we are coming together now that we want these films to be restituted. It's not just restitution of artifacts. We also want audiovisual materials to also be restituted. So part of the stuff part of some of these films are actually with the Nigerian Film Corporation. I think I'm going to show two that are also in Nigerian Film Corporation. You already see that Adamo Halilu's film is here. So if you are looking for, I think a place also to begin is also the National Film and Video Sound Archive. So you could get these films there. But I don't think any of Ola Balogun's, any Agunde's child can give you access to this film, because it is also like the film which you are looking for, BC Daughter of the River, which I know from back then, which was funded by Abiola, but the film did not make money at the cinema. Then Abiola said, okay, so his money is lost. He cannot get back his money. This film, will it eat amala? They say it will not eat amala. Will it eat a wedu? He said it will not eat a wedu. Okay, good. He will take the film and put it under his bed after. He's not going to ask for food. So God knows what has happened to BC Daughter of the River, whether it is still under Abiola's bed somewhere in the village or whether it is somewhere. So nobody have a clear idea where these films are, so you have to search for it. It's a process of searching and recovery. So if I come across it, if I have your contact, I will tell you that, oh, we have found this film. But once we have this film, you will know, because we'll screen it during Zuma. So yeah, he indicated first. Okay.
Good afternoon. Where do I start from? Let me see. My name is Metusela Jeremiah from National Film Institute. I'm actually the rector there. I almost missed this program, but I tell you, for me, this is the high point of Zuma, honestly speaking. When I was, when I was watching the visuals, in fact, I could almost, I saw my guy here, he was what? We are all overwhelmed. MD said it here, if you can't go back, in your history, you only be in hysteria. And I tell you, even as I was seeing history, I was almost in hysteria. Why? Because, you are seeing things that, you were not even born. So many of us here were not born when some of these deals were there. And you see, I'm speaking because as a head of a school, I want to use this platform to really encourage students. See, this is a very big field. Archiving is a very big field, and I can see that there is so much that still needs to be done, in spite of the great work that you have been doing, sir. We really need to clap for you, sir. Honestly, we need to clap for you. You've done a great work, but I need to address the students. Right now, the Film Institute, through the very great work that our MD has been doing in the past years, has started the program in collaboration with these our partners. And I tell you, for me, if I ever want to go and do a postgraduate program, I will go for archiving. Honestly, I will go for archiving, because the market is just there. The market is just there. So, for what is happening now, because we've not finished watching, I think it should just be a way of gingering us, encouraging us, and, just making us to just develop that interest. Thank you very much. I'm sure we've not finished this. We'll continue it. And thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Yes, there's a question there. There's a question. Yeah, so to come to you, first, I come to you. I will also say this, that yes, it was a collaboration. So I'm also not very good at taking praise. So you soon want to cry. So, but it was also a collaboration. So without the Nigerian Film Corporation, it would have not been possible to do this. So it was I gave something, I took something in return. So, and yeah, that's how it is. But to also buttress your point about archiving is that Vincent is fond of saying this, that some 50 years ago when Hollywood began digitizing its old films, of course there was traction. There was, oh, you want to say that old films are better than new films? Why do we need to digitize these old films and bring them back? But collectively, the world is moving from content generation to copyright generation. So, and when HBO, for instance, took its collection to say, oh, old collection, to sell it to television, and it generated further money for them. Like one of the series we are going to show now, so that it's not really proper to say that all those old drama series that was produced for television, that they have been lost. Maybe some are lost and damaged, but there's a clip which we are going to show, which people who are 50, 60, or 70 will remember. But if like they must have watched it, but if like me, you are 27 years and you have not watched it, then you are lucky. So you still have got something that you're proud of you. But if you have watched it before, it's double blessing. So we will show that film now. We will show that clip, just a small portion of the episode 7. I'm not going to reveal the title yet. Maybe some people might guess. But while we wait to see that, I will take the question from you, right? You indicated, then there's the lady, there's somebody, who indicated. So you first, then you come. You're not a lady, actually. So, yes.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Albert Egbe. I'm a writer-producer. I used to be an actor. I really want to thank you, Didi, and Nigerian Film Corporation for what I've just seen this afternoon. And I agree with the last speaker, and this is the high point of this festival. Thank you very much. Now, I just want to raise a point, because in the film that I just saw, I noticed that some of the people in the orchestra were playing their violin with their left hand. Most of them, in fact. Am I to assume that they were all left-handed, or was it as a result of the projection of the film that was turned maybe the other way around that came about?
Yes, it was correct observation also. So it was not from their left-handedness. It was from the projection of the film. So, of course, back then, the use of reversal tape, tape and the process of digitizing it, so it turned it as if it was left-handed. So it was really not. They were not really all left-handed. So, and you are sharp to notice it. I watched it how many times before I noticed it myself. So yes, you are quite correct. So they are not left-handed. So. Okay. But thank you also for your comment. Thank you so much. So, and I'm really also happy that you are here. So, and of course I know you very well. So even if by practice, by reputation too. So, okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Man, not a lady.
Sorry, I corrected myself.
Thank you. Good afternoon, all. My name is Dr. Olympus. Just like Professor Methuselah said, for me, this is the height of it all. This is exactly, or the best that I will take home from this festival. It's wonderful. My prayer is, if we can create a forum, a wider forum, where people, particularly the younger ones, will get to knowing some of these things. It's amazing. The one, memory also die. It's very philosophical for me. I mean, if you don't know where you're coming from, I doubt if you will know where you're going to. So if these things are created, from the archives, and made or dropped in a particular forum where the younger ones will be able to see what has, become of their country, because they would see how it was in the past. All right? And that perhaps will give them a better impression of where they are going to. It will be wonderful. Didi, I thank you and I congratulate you. It's a wonderful area you have chosen for yourself. Keep it up, and I'm sure you will go more places. Thank you.
Thank you. So, okay, I'm also a little bit greedy. Why I'm riding on this crest of praises, so I think I should now go to Kokura down. Let's have Kokura down. So let us know that we are all a lot.
You can hear the birds sing in the morning. You can hear the water splashing down the hill, kind of roaring. You can see the sun going down, and the people as they go by without a frown. Here the traffic never jams, don't cost much to buy some yams, and the neighbors say hello. You can't even hear the sound of the cockroach. First thing in the morning, you can hear the water splashing down the hill, kind of roaring. You can see the sun going down, and the people as they go by without a frown. Here the traffic never jams, don't cost much to buy some yams, and the neighbors say hello. Try to pull you up from down below. You can't even hear the sound of the cockroach. I don't. Will he ever get there? Will he ever make it? Will he ever hear the sound of the cockroach? I don't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buses every day, with nothing left at the end of each bay. The rental he must pay, the much to pay, he often has no say. Will he ever get there? Will he ever make it? Will he ever hear the sound of the cockroach? I don't. Will he ever hear the sound of the cockroach? I don't. Will he ever hear the sound of the cockroach? I don't.
Have you come to visit us? Come to stay. What? To stay? Is that Papa true?
Ah, yes, I'm afraid so.
Eh? Why didn't you send us a message? I took a very sudden decision. Sudden? Yes. Hey! Is that your daughter?
Yes, that's Larry. Larry, come and say hello to Auntie Afi. Hello, ma.
How are you? You're such a big girl.
Afi, how is Becky?
Oh, he's at home. He's just come back from the farm.
Zamaye, you and Larry carry as many of the stuff as you can into the compound. I'm going to see if I can get Becky and arrange for some people to take the rest of the stuff in.
All right, Papa Bitrus. I'll tell Mama that you'll soon be coming.
Good, okay.
I will help you choose a man.
Thank you. How are your children?
They are in school in Jos.
That's very nice. I'm sure Larry would like to meet them. Larry, won't you?
Anything you say, Mama. What's the matter, Larry? Aren't you happy to be here?
Don't mind her, Afi. She still misses the town life and thinks we've brought her to the village to punish her.
Yes, I don't. It should be fine.
Bello, is it true what I hear? That you have come home to stay?
Beke, who told you?
Answer me, is it true?
Yes, it is. But how did you know? I've only just come.
Don't worry about that. We have effective communication system in the village.
Eh?
Bello, why didn't you send a message to me that you are coming?
It was the same question Afi asked me.
Afi? Have you seen her?
Yes, I left her with Zamai. She's helping her carry some of our load to my father's house.
How is Zemai now?
Zamai is fine, but listen, Beke, before you get too excited, we must arrange for some people to help carry the remainder of our load.
Don't worry
to the house.
about that. Don't worry at all. I will do that. But tell me seriously, are you back home for good?
Yes, I am. As the saying goes, I've come home to roost.
But last time you were back home, you are still very much a city man.
That is true.
But what made you to change your mind?
It is a long story, Becky. A long story.
Mama. Mama, what happened to you?
Yes, it is me, Mama. What has been happening to you?
She has not been well lately.
Zemai! I fancy you for this thing.
Yourself, Beatrice did tell us you'll be coming.
Beatrice, where is he? Have you arrived already?
She arrived.
Is this my daughter?
Yes, Larry. Go and greet Mama now.
Come here, my daughter. Good afternoon, my daughter.
Afi, how are you?
Achirobo, I'm sorry I didn't greet you. I was so...
This is still, we just digitize a small, just a fraction of it. They are still there, the archive, so maybe in due course as this program advances, we'll access more funds so we can use it to digitize everything, and then we can have a sort of retrospective on TV. People can remember what used to be before, and it's also a means where people can come and study and see that, yeah, that archive is not just dead things, also it's memory. Memory is always something that is generative, that keeps going on and on and on. So you pass it down from one generation to the next. It's not just your personal possession, it's something which you give to, which you hand down also to your children. So of course it takes me back to my childhood and all that. So but I don't know if anybody wants to make comment or ask questions. Yes, there's indication there. So
yeah, if this, from my own constituency, I believe we've really achieved something good. This is the basic and the main issue that we, the stakeholders, I thank God that some stakeholders that are here, this archive that the Film Corporation are trying to revive have come to stay in Jesus' name. Whether we like it or not, it has come to stay. When I was growing up, I watched Krokro Adon, the village headmaster, and all the rest. We can't get it now. Even Igodo, you can't get Igodo. The mixing marks, you can't get it. Please, I want to call on we stakeholders to see how we can come in fully with the Nigerian Film Corporation and contribute our own quota. They are trying. It's not easy. It is not every time because you are a guild representative. When the Film Corporation is doing anything, they must involve. Please, let's take it from a different angle. Whatever you know you can do to let this child must not die. This child must not die. Because the narrative now, some of the upcoming filmmakers will be able to understand when the film, they started, and the cultural heritage is still there. Look at the acting, natural, make believe. This is not more digital. Some of the Chief about Ogunde film, you can't see it. Now, we are all here. How many stakeholders are here? We can't see them. They are not here. Celebrities are not here. But we are doing everything possible to make the film industry move ahead. Finally, sir, I still want to call the former president of the Producers Guild, a stakeholder in the Directors Guild. I know you have the capacity. Mr. Steve is here, in the person of Chief Madu Chikwen. Why I'm saying this is that because when we are growing up, that's told us that Mongo Park find the source of River Niger. Tomorrow, they should not come and tell us that all this fame is found by another person. Mongo Park find the source of River Niger. Someone took Mongo Park there. We don't want them to change the story. The story is now and is today. Use your good office. Whatever you can do, it is not the English-speaking aspect of it we are looking at. It is not the grammar aspect of it. It is to hit the nail at the point and make this real. Thank you.
Thank you. One more person there.
Well, hello everyone. I tell you, I am so glad to see this today because, like he said, the memory in filmmaking is something that we will have to cherish forever. Now, I will be so glad to tell you that I'm probably the only person here who participated in the original production of Kokro at Dawn with Peter Tosh. The original film was shot, edited, and produced at NTA Sokoto, and I happened to have the privilege of processing all the celluloid that was used for this film. Now, I believe this is a later version that came up after, we left. But the original Kokoro at Dawn is something that the young filmmakers can really learn from. The differences are very clear. Now, the passion, the ethics of filmmaking, and the zeal are some of the things that have become different now. A lot of people now, not only filmmakers, a lot of professionals go about their profession mainly thinking about money. Now, the filmmakers of those days, people like Mr. Peter Igo, Mr. Matt Dadzi, the actors like Sadiq Daba, they were into this art for the sake of the arts itself. Because when this film was made, it was produced by the NTA Sokoto. There was no money from anywhere. But the hard work and the zeal and the passion that was put in it made it won all the awards that it won. I will advise the young filmmakers of today to see a lot of this kind of films and learn a lot from them. They will go a long way in bringing back the film industry in this country to its original passion and ethics. Thank you very much.
Yes. What, here?
Thank you, Didi. I have to thank you for the thankless task you have been undertaking.
Very, very thankless
What
task.
that's called the literature, Prof. What I just thankless task you've been undertaking. Okay. I have so many questions, so let me just reduce them. Hi, Vincent. First, I don't know the kind of budget you have and how robust that budget is. But you know, everybody keeps talking about this film, Daybreak at 2D, in 1949, the one that won an Oscar. You know the yes, because we have a Nigerian film that actually won the foreign language Oscar in 1949, right? I think 1949, yeah. Yeah. So do you have any plan to locate that film, you know? And then secondly, I also recently stumbled at the National Archives in the UK. On the works, there's a gentleman, he appeared to have produced and directed most of those early films. His name is Lionel Snazel. He's British. In fact, he died in 1993, you know. I was surprised. So I started tracing him online and so on. He was very prolific. All those early films, Independence, from about, he was active from around the mid-40s up till Independence. In fact, he even directed the coverage of the Independence and the Queen's Visit. His name is Lionel Snazel. Yes, he's from Leeds or so. You know, so if I'm just proposing, if you have any plans, this particular, well, maybe it's a personal request, but this gentleman, all those films we mentioned, either he produced, directed, or scripted most of them. Though apparently he started life as a cameraman at Ellen Studios in the 30s, yeah, in the UK. And then finally, just my advice to the National Archives, that the first step really is to catalog. I don't know if they've cataloged what we have there, even if they've not been worked on, but let's even have an idea how many titles are there. You know, it would be a good starting point. Just then finally to the gentleman that spoke last. I don't know how many versions of Cochrane do they have, because I know Uncle Peter Iho used to talk about the ones who were shooting in Jos and how he shot on 16mm and he used to go to London to edit. So, but he's saying that they were edited in Sokoto, so I don't know. Maybe I will take it up with him personally, really. Thank you very much.
Okay.
It's true that they were edited in Sokoto. I served in NTA Sokoto from 1981 to 1982, and I was lucky that I saw they have a Moviola where you can edit, transfer cellular film to television and even do the editing. I worked with Mashewu, Olaja, who acted in this particular film. Also Dala de Bako. I worked with them when I was doing my service there. Another thing again is that when I was doing my PhD, I discovered that NTA National Production Center in Lagos, if you go there, there's a lot of archival material there, because I was trying to get some of the old tape of the Masquerade. I went there, I was able to get some. I have to go to Enugu again to get old tapes of the Masquerade. I met James Iroa, I also met Chika Okpala. They were able to give me, before I went from all the ones, I selected only 9 episodes for my PhD. But what I'm trying to say is that it's very difficult, those of us who are doing research, to get materials, especially archival material. The work I want to do tomorrow is it's just 2008, but it's like a lot of people are saying it's an old film. What's it called? Amazing Grace. They say it's just 2000, by Jeta Mata. Incidentally, Zaka Mata's father, he did his master's at UI, but he took part as an actor in Moral Rearmament. I can't remember now. That Moral Rearmament is one of the oldest Nigerian films. 1950 something.
Freedom in Chains.
Yeah?
Freedom in Chains.
Freedom, yes.
Freedom.
The first one. This other one, yes. Zakamata's father. I happened to meet him. He actually met us when I was doing my master's at the University of Ibadan. So what we're saying is that I'm so happy that the last time, 2018, when I came to Jos, because I knew that the Nigerian Film Corporation was established even before the video came up. So I know that most of their films, I was thinking that they will have a lot of films in the archives. So I don't know, well, somebody told me that they have, but I've not been able to see any, I've been visit that archive. because the time was too short for me to do that. Thank you very much.
The guy you mentioned, Snazel, there's the guy we are collaborating with also who teach. I think he teaches now at Leeds also, who cataloged the BFI, Tom Rice. So cataloged the BFI. So it was through him I also discovered this guy Snazel you mentioned. So and he put it down in a book. He documented colonial cinema from Nigeria, how it began, and the films that were produced back then. So there is actually really an ongoing effort to look at this film, because asking the BFI that, because it was originally not, it was Crown Production who produced Daybreak in Udi, but they now took everything and gave it to these guys at Iron, they were closing shop at Ironmonger's Row in overseas film and television, we are processing all that stuff. Then that one was closing down, took it and gave it to the BFI. The scandal was that as they were closing down, they took it and gave it to AP. AP is a commercial archive. So you are making money from films you made from people whose permission you did not, whose consent you did not ask. So, and we are simply asking you, make a copy of this film, give us for our archive, as part of restitution, effort at restitution. So we are not asking you to give us everything. I mean, it's a complex situation, you know, who owns the rights, what are the issues involved, the copyright issues involved. So, but we are also approaching it from the point of view of not just, well, ethics, but also moral right too, that you came in, you extracted visual images the same way you extracted raw materials. And you took them and you went to grow your own industry. So there was Daybreak in Udi, there was also Palava, which was shot, the first picture of Palava that was shot in Jos. So we are saying that, can you give us also copies of this film for our archive so that we don't have to be paying all this big money? We also want to access this film because it won the Oscars and it was fiction, but they also played the trick. I mean, when outsiders tell your story, they sold it, they portrayed it as a documentary at the Oscars, and it won the award. And then there was a controversy over the award plaque. Somebody took it and said it is all around the way, so they're still trying to locate who has got the so that is the film, the Breaking Udi, which I think is also necessary. I've seen a DVD copy, which I've screened the DVD copy in Lagos from the British Council, but we want the copy which could be reproduced further, not just the British Council still have got a DVD, they produce a DVD copy, and when we are doing an archival project, they say, oh, we can loan you this copy so you can screen it, but you have got to give us back. So it is with them at the BFI, so they still have got that film, They Break in Udi, which I think it's necessary for us to have here, it's necessary for us to see it, to reclaim it. Now, I know that the NFC is in the process of there's an existing catalog of what they have, but they are trying to update it, at least let it become a digital catalog. Now, we could say this is a passion project. I'm in this thing for the ride. So these are the money people there. One of them has just left. These are the money people. So I think you should try and make some money to come my end so that this does not become a thankless job. So I want some money too. Don't think that there is a big money that's being given to me from Germany. Oh, me or you people? Bro, I'm a struggling artist. The process of doing all this stuff is of cataloging it so we know. I mean, there's a whole lot there. There is, back when they used to do NAFest, National Festival of, and then there was the NIFETEP, the old stuff with Aimee Wu, Abiku, those drama series that was done that time. It's actually a very rich trove there. And I think that the archive is actually capable of maintaining itself. It's actually capable of generating quite some huge money. But it needs to be properly handled, digitized, cataloged properly so we know exactly what we have, what we don't have. That scanner needs to be put into operation. The door that is being locked needs to be opened so we can come in there and do some work and digitize this stuff before we commercialize it to other African countries. So yes, yes, you are. Somebody you are making. Yes, okay.
Yes, thank you. My name is Alex Ayego, and I think my suggestion would be to NFC and other agencies Because the way I look at this is that this is about our culture, you know, who we are as a people, documenting it. Didi said something which, you know, is a bit scary to me, because he said even it's very difficult to even trace or find even films of this digital age. I mean, that's scary, you know, and something should be done about it. And I know there is a we have National Film and Video Censors Board, which is just, no, wait, I know where I'm going. It's a suggestion I'm making. The one they have the copy they have is marked preview. That's almost cannot be used. It's marked preview. Nobody give them a film for censorship that is not marked preview. I am saying maybe NFC can push this. Because, for instance, for you to release any film, video film, or even cinema film in Nigeria, it's a law. You must take it to Censors Board. NFC must look at spearheading it so that there will be a legislation, an act, that as a filmmaker, once you make your film, while you are trying to retrieve all this celluloid own, at least from now on, for you to get your film released in any form, you must have an archive copy. Let it be a law. You must have an archive copy, not marked preview. Not marked preview. Yes, we know the issue of copyright and all of that. All that can be sorted out in the act, in the law. Maybe it's going to be via executive bill and all of that, because this is about us as a people, our history, our culture. Maybe 100 years down the line, my film today, I want it to be there in the archive. But the easiest way to do this, just like censorship is by law. If you release your film without censorship, it's illegal. And you can be prosecuted. That's the same way we should look at it. And I think NFC should spearhead this, should chest out and spearhead this, so that it will become a law for you as filmmaker to archive your film, to send a copy, a clean copy, not marked preview. Thank you.
Yes, I think 2 years ago during Zuma in this same city, I think the NFC had a roundtable. So I think there is a process now that films should be archived with the NFC. But I must also tell you that it's actually a difficult situation to archive digital works internationally everywhere. So it's while we are looking at the other is getting lost. You are trying to retrieve the one of 50 years ago, but the most recent ones are also getting lost. I wonder if anybody have got maybe a master copy of maybe the original Living in Bondage, not the person they have their master. I wonder if they have their master tapes of all the things they produced in the initial time of Nollywood growing up. So it is. So you wonder. So, but it's an ongoing process. So I bet it's opening up. Others are coming in. So hopefully one day it's not just going to be Didi Chika, because one day Didi Chika might just drop down dead. So then the thing will not stop now. So other people should take it. So it involves wider actors who push this thing. Then it's no longer a question of one individual doing it. It has become a national policy. So, but I don't know. It's like maybe Vincent wants to say something. So was Vincent indicating to say something? Vincent, are you still with us? Hello, Vincent, are you with us? Do you want to say anything?
I mean, you mentioned the Associated Press case where the BFI sold the rights to the Colonial Film Unit films to a commercial press agency to make money, thereby withdrawing it from access for the people most concerned by these materials. What I think is great about the archival policy white paper that the NFC is in the process of implementing is that it contains a passage addressing this issue. It actually stipulates that the films that are stored in European archives but that are relevant to Nigeria, and not just films made by Nigerian filmmakers, but films made in Nigeria and documenting the country's history, need to be returned. need to be restituted. This will be a very controversial issue in Europe. Part of the work that we're trying to do in Europe right now is create awareness and prepare the ground for that controversy to happen. But to have a legal document, a policy document in Nigeria that makes this an issue, and that says, sooner or later you're going to have to give us these films. We don't want exclusive property of it, but we want access. We want copies. We want to be able to work with them as filmmakers in research, in education. To have that document is very, very important, I think. And in that sense, I believe that the government white paper is going to play an important role going forward.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Vincent. Thank you. Stephanie?
I just wanted to support that idea. And as I mentioned earlier, in film, we have the great situation that we can share films because it's digital. We can make copies, so we can give them back. And still, if we really need to keep copies in other places as well. So it should be not so complicated to share that. But of course, there are many other things involved, and there's a lot of work to do. So there's the white paper, and then there's also an international network working on a call for action and reflection paper. Didi is part of that too. That is calling for a decolonization process of film archives. So there is still a lot of work to do. But I would also like to take this opportunity to because unfortunately I have to join another Zoom meeting now. But I was super inspired and I was very happy to be with you and to see how energizing archives can be, and to see this energy in the audience was really great. And I would like to thank you all for making this possible, and we will continue this collaboration. So thank you, and please continue. I'm just disappearing now from the screen, and hello to everybody.
Brian, do you want to have the mic for closing comments? Yeah, because of course there was some, time that we need to make space for other people. I don't want to take the whole time. So, but there are still films actually which you can watch at other time. So now I have to give to Brian. Oh, business, you still want to say something for closing comments? Finally, or you want to say?
Not a closing comment, but I just wanted to add a brief note. I think Stephanie made an important point, saying, what's great about film is that you can make copies and you can restitute copies, so you don't have to fight over the original. Whereas with archaeological artifacts, artworks, the famous Benin bronzes, there's only one of them, and it's a real question as to who gets to keep it. With films, you can make copies and you can restitute the copies. However, this is something that our friend and partner Ellen Harrington, the director of the DFF, recently said in a discussion around those same issues. Controlling the material base of the film is still important and valuable, and wherever you can lay your hands on the original material, particularly with celluloid films, but also with digital native and video films, wherever you can secure the original materials and archive those rather than just have a copy, that's what you should do. And I think that going forward, there's this whole big Nigerian film history that happened between 1960 and the early 90s, and we've been talking about the Ola Balogun films and the Ukadogunde films. There's so much still there that is threatened by loss and decay, and that needs to be secured, and needs to be secured as fast as possible. This is, not a uniquely Nigerian problem, but it's important to highlight that as well. There's so much material inside Nigeria that can still be secured and preserved and brought to the archive to have a long afterlife. And I think we shouldn't we shouldn't neglect the aspect of securing the material base that can be.
Thank you, Vincent. Thank you. Now, Marike, I have to ask you this. Yeah, Marike, I have to ask you this because you told me, you talked about giving a copy of the film Things Fall Apart to Lanre or Ladele. So since we are on this topic, I should ask you, right? You are since he has got the West Africa right, and hopefully you are still doing this, right? Because hopefully Lanre can put a copy with the archive, right? You want to say something, Marike?
Can you hear me?
Yes, no? I can hear you now.
Ah, okay, now. Yes, we're gonna give, of course, one copy for London Oladile. And perhaps this would be also important to know that this copy is only the German print of the film. There have been several Things Fall Apart, several copies. There's one in the negative is still in Los Angeles, and I think it's another film. So yes, sometimes film is also kind of matrix. I mean, if you start to make the research, you find a lot of parts, and you try to get these parts together. So what we found and what we have still not restored, but we have got a digital copy, is the German film of Things Fall Apart.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Marika. I heard you. Thank you. Okay, so I have to say a big thank you to everybody for staying with me on the course of this presentation. I was a little bit skeptical. What was I going to do with this amount of time I was given to present something on archive? Will I keep the people's interest? So, but I thank you for staying back. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, dann verabschieden wir uns jetzt.
Please, let's put our hands together for Didi Chika for the wonderful presentation and coordination of this session. We are waiting for the next session, which starts by 4, and courtesy of our partners, the United States Embassy in Nigeria, and then their home country, the State Department in the US. We are going to have an online film lecture on episodic storytelling, and it's going to take a form of a master class, and the presenter is Mr. Philip Gilpin. Now, the underlining objectives of this is they're going to take us through the style and techniques of episodic storytelling. And there are opportunities that are available for some scripts to emerge from this activity. And then there are also possibilities that there will be further training and script conferences in the US. So what we are trying to do now is we appeal to you to pay so much attention to the next session, which starts by 4 o'clock on the dot. We are waiting for them to get set and get into the chat room. But before, until then, we have one more film to show you from the Cassia platform. That is what Didi Chika was doing. That will take us till 4 o'clock. And by 4 o'clock, once our guests are in the chat room, we will now link up with them. Thank you very much. Can we have the film, please?